little bit about Learn to Program and some of the work that you're doing there.
Sure. So we are a company that is dedicated towards helping people learn computer programming. We do that through a video network that's on Roku, YouTube, iTunes, and a number of other video repositories, and we're monetized through online courses that we sell on our website, and also through marketplaces like Udemy and Safari Technical Library and Open Sesame.
Now, are you the brainchild behind the whole program?
That's a strong word, but I am the founder. Yeah.
Yeah. So what made you decide that you wanted to offer this to people?
So I had for a long time been a corporate technical trainer, and I had taught at large scale companies like Northrop Grumman, Arthur Andersen, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Aflac, teaching computer classes to their programmers and helping them advance their skills. About 5 years ago, I came down with colon cancer and had to stop traveling. When I had to stop traveling, unfortunately, that kind of meant I didn't have a job.
Right.
So as I was going through chemo, luckily I had the means not to have to work, but I was really bored.
Yeah.
I was just like, because I had treatment once every 2 weeks, and I was taking a lot of pills, but beyond that, I didn't feel so awful. Like, if I had a normal job that didn't require getting on a plane, I would have been going to work.
Okay.
So I was kind of like, okay, what do I do? So I went and I developed a JavaScript course and put it online, and to my surprise, it sold into the hundreds and then the thousands in the first month. So I was kind of shocked, and all of a sudden I had a business. So I hired my first employee, Kevin Hernandez. Kevin was the guy, every startup has to have one of these that you convince to drop out of college so he can join the startup.
Of course.
He's now our vice president and runs the day-to-day operations. And so now,
you guys have a physical location?
we have a physical. Oh yeah, we have a physical location in Vernon, which is where the megabus pulls off, so people can go to the bathroom. That's pretty much what we're known for. And in Vernon, Connecticut, so we have an office that we already don't have enough space.
Oh wow!
So
it's a good problem to have.
Yeah, we have 8 full-time employees, 5 part-time employees. And we just have one audio recording and 1 video recording studio, and that's where we need to expand. And so it grew into 40 online courses 3 years later, 5 books, 2 of which are #1 in their category in Amazon. We're continuing to expand our books. And really, it's been taking advantage of kind of this publishing 3.0 paradigm that's out there, and just being more agile than traditional publishers and be able to get books to market more quickly, having no inventory costs, being all digital, having 0 unit costs to a sale. So all those things have enabled us to grow really quickly with no outside cash infusion. So I still own 100% of the company, and we're obviously growing at a fairly good clip. So
how did you primarily get yourself up and running? Did you just self-fund, or?
Yeah, I invested about $10,000 at the beginning.
Okay.
Computers, office space, but really because we were lucky enough to have a hit course early, we really grew off our own profitability.
Yeah.
So all the money, I haven't paid myself yet, but all the money goes back into the business.
Yeah.
So, which is good, because we've used that money for growth and have really been able to create a footprint. So the plan is to keep going, more courses, more venues to sell them, and more students. We've sold something over 200,000 courses in 3 years.
Who teaches the courses? Is it a variety of people within your company, or?
So it started with just me, but now we have a number of, just like any author contracts, are a little different, but our authors come in and they'll record a course in our studios. We'll pay them, and then we'll produce the course and sell it on the market. We have a gentleman coming in from New Hampshire on Monday to do a course on Microsoft's .NET technology.
Oh, cool.
And at the same time, we've got courses that we're working on the new version of Android, and a number of other things. So we're really kind of, trying to get as much content out as good content as we can.
Yeah. Who is would you say is your one? I'll say ideal client, but 2, who's been signing up to participate in your courses?
All right, you're assuming they're not the same.
They could be. I don't want to assume.
So our ideal client is a career changer in their 30s who wants to get into web development, mobile development, but can't or won't or shouldn't go back to college or university. That's a very long road and very expensive road. So we offer a solution that enables them to very quickly and I think at a very high level gain the skills needed for an entry-level job or to start freelancing or something like that. We have a lot of people in our program who have started freelancing. We have people working in startups. You have to be self-motivated because it is online learning, but at the same time the materials are good and contemporary and people learn to program. That's the whole idea.
How do the courses work? They run for so many weeks or months, or
They're self-paced, so you start when you want, and you do it as time allows. So a lot of people, we suggest you dedicate at least 2-3 hours a week. There's courses that we provide different sequences of courses depending on what your goals are. So for example, our most popular course is Become a Certified Web Developer. And there's 2 levels. So the first one is about 17 hours of video instruction. And when they do the video instruction, we want our students to be writing the code along with the instructor. And then there's lab exercises. So there's about, probably in that course, 40 to 50 lab exercises that they complete. And that's to retain the skills, make sure they understand them. And at that point, after they've completed that level 1 course, we offer a certification exam. So they can kind of test their skills, make sure they've got it. And, it's more for them to understand or an employer to see what they've learned versus it being some nationally recognized certification. It's not. But it just gives them a point at which they can kind of assess what they've done. And then a lot of them go on to the level 2 course, which has more advanced techniques about web development. Some of them at that point start trying to do their own websites. And, so, and we also have kind of a community around it, which is exactly what we want.
That's cool. Just ask you a little bit about it because I know, again, you said your background, you worked with larger corporations. Could corporations, is it something too where they could send their employees to get refreshers or learn something new? Or?
We have had a number of corporate sales with companies using our content inside their company for people to learn programming for the first time, refresh skills, or just to advance skills. It's not a target market for us. It's ancillary, but it definitely happens.
Oh, that's very cool.
It's something we're going to look really hard at over the next year and see if enterprise sales is something that's going to be valuable for us to get into.
I have to ask you, because we're a digital magazine for female entrepreneurs, just about some of the women that you're seeing in programming. Do you have an audience of women that are kind of signing up and taking your programs or even teaching some of them?
So first off, one of the things that's important to us is increasing the diversity of the base of programmers. It's been a long-term problem, not just a lack of women, but underrepresented minorities in programming, and we're not solving it. The numbers actually have gone down very slightly, not up. So we're seeing, because it's a self-paced, more approachable program, about 10% more women in our program than you might see in a university program or something like that, which is good, which is progress. And ours also, because of the flexibility of the scheduling, it works in a lot of women's lives who might have families or children to take care of, and other careers. So you can do it as you want to progress. So one of the things we've done to be in the lead is our senior producer is female, our PA is female. We've made an effort where we can and where we had qualified women apply to make sure we brought them into the company. And secondly, because we have an interest, we make a special effort when we have women in our program who identify themselves to us to provide them as much help and support as we can. We're not going to solve the macro level problem of women in tech or women in entrepreneurship, but we like being on the part of the solution side instead of part of the problem side. As far as I kind of look at women in programming and underrepresented minorities in programming as two separate problems because I think the reasons are really different. That we're not attracting traditionally Hispanics and African Americans into tech. Then we're not attracting women. I think we're not attracting women because the environment has been overtly hostile for a long time. I think that's a big part of it. And while the environment has also, I think, been hostile to minorities, I'm not sure we're making the outreach that other professions have to be inclusive that have really kind of changed the face of some other professions.
Right.
And I think the biggest thing we can do to improve any of those situations is increase the numbers. If we have parity with women in tech, I'm not sure we're going to hear about the issues we hear about now just by simple sheer numbers, sheer presence. There's a lot of efforts going on in Connecticut to work with minority youth and get them into coding and programming. And I'm hoping.
My next question.
I'm hoping those have an effect, generationally as we see these kids grow up. It's definitely something they want to do.
Right.
I lectured in a program in Hartford where boys and girls were making mobile apps for the city of Hartford.
Oh, very cool.
And it was an extremely diverse group.
Right.
And I mean these were what you typically call urban youth. But I mean they were as engaged and interested and skilled as anybody else.
Right.
But I think they're only getting that engagement extracurricularly, not through the actual schools.
Well, just particularly for your company, do you guys do anything to particularly engage some of the youth that are coming right out of high school who may not feel college bound, but may be able to learn some things from your programming and start a life for themselves?
Yeah, that's one we haven't solved because we have some trouble finding those kids. I think that's definitely an underserved population that we need to reach out to. What we do is any school that's a lower SES school, and we just define that with an arbitrary percentage of students who are on free lunch.
Yep.
And it's arbitrary, I realize that. It's not perfect, but we will give our curriculum for free to that school to use.
Nice.
So if a school
huge.
if a school is identified as lower SES, and I forget what our exact metric is, but we will give our courseware to them, and they can use it with their students at no cost. It includes
awesome.
the digital textbooks and all the video courses, and it can be quite powerful.
Right.
So we actually have a school in LA we're working with now.
Oh wow.
And all the school has to do is just identify to us that they're in that status,
bracket,
in that bracket. And it's not a formal process or anything, but we don't want to be giving stuff to wealthy schools who could otherwise afford to buy it.
Right.
But there's a lot of schools out there that can't,
Yeah.
and give the kids access to this content.
And I guess lastly, so Lioness, though we're an international magazine, we're based in Western Mass in New England. Your company is in New England. How do you feel about the not even specifically the tech, but the entrepreneur scene where you guys are based?
It's a difficult entrepreneurial scene. You would think because we are about halfway between New York and Boston that we'd have kind of this knowledge corridor effect, which is what they've been trying to promote.
Yeah.
I think the demographics of Connecticut and the Pioneer Valley and those areas very much work against young entrepreneurs staying there because there's no concentration of support for them or peers. It's an expensive cost structure to live there versus in Austin or in Colorado Springs. There's no public transportation that's valuable. So all the problems that you have with suburbia, I think work against really getting a focal point of entrepreneurial growth. That having been said, we have excellent universities. We have, I think, a very well-educated populace, and there's money around for investment. So for someone in my position, it makes sense. For young entrepreneurs who are wanting to get started, I think they're better off going to Boston, as much as it pains me to say that, because I'm working really hard on growing the entrepreneurial movement in Connecticut. I mentor companies, I work with Startup Weekend. I'm actually the Startup Digest curator for Connecticut. So I work really hard on these things. But if it's someone I care about, I'm going to tell them to go to Boston, go to New York.
Right.
We're actually going to have lunch with a really nice, and I mean, it's a whammy in a lot of ways. Really nice African American kid who grew up in Hartford, went to school in Virginia, came back to Hartford to start his company, and we're going to try and convince him to go to Austin because we think it's probably better for him.
Oh.
And it's like, it's like we lose him because he's a great entrepreneur, great guy, and a great leader. But, the contacts he will make in an MBA program in Austin, with something that has, all of those support systems from the incubators and just the sheer concentration, he'll do very well there.
So in Springfield, they have really started to make strides to support the entrepreneur
Valley
community.
Venture Mentors.
Yeah, Valley Venture Mentors. Delcy Bean has started Tech Foundry, who helps train some high school kids in the tech field so that they can go right into the industry. They're starting to open some co-working spaces and stuff like that. What is some support that you would like to see kind of get going in the Connecticut area?
So I think, we talk about startups an awful lot. And, in the end for the state, this is a economic development play.
Right.
Manufacturing, and this is not, I think, all that different from what's going on in Springfield. Old New England cities were mill towns.
Right.
And manufacturing's not coming back. And we've got to build a digital economy, or at least an economy that's sustainable for the next 100 years.
Right.
And that's not going to be in making textiles. So we have to stop pretending it's coming back.
Right.
And so if we want to really grow an economy, the best thing we could do is support phase 2 companies that have gotten beyond the startup, because your most likely job growth in the startup rate is going to come from those phase 2 companies. But no one seems to know what to do.
Right.
I mean, everyone knows we can do startup weekends, we can do we can do some other up global programs, we can do ignites, we can do all these things.
Yeah.
We can't do. We can't seem to do anything about the phase 2s, and we're really a phase 2 at this point.
Right.
And I never feel like we got a whole lot out of the state's ecosystem, but I know that, and that's why I come to New York. That's why we're sitting here in New York City.
Yeah, me too.
That's
I
why
try
I go
to
to
come here to
Boston.
travel more. Yeah.
That's why I go to Boston. That's why I go to these places, is because, I was in LA 2 weeks ago, and I was in a co-working space in Santa Monica, and I went to a party at YouTube. I made more contacts
There.
in a single evening than I would in a month in Connecticut. And I mean, these were high level. These were directors of marketing. These were people who we really could work with to grow our company and grow our customer base. It's not. Hartford is an insurance town, and that's good, but it's not helping us with the entrepreneurial movement.
Right. Is there anything that you want to add that maybe I failed to bring up?
I'm really curious how they're going to get that through the door. Yeah, I think that is that if someone is a new entrepreneur and they want some advice from an old entrepreneur, it's not to play the game. Don't play the game that you need seed funding and then you need first round VC and then your chance of success is much higher if you find a way to bootstrap and grow off of your own profitability.
Yeah.
In the media, startups are glamorized. You have a whole bunch of people, you have buildings full of people in New York and other places where people are talking to each other, no one's making any money.
Right.
And your company's sustainable. It's not sustainable unless you make money. And investment money runs out. And you can't build a company based on the next Facebook is not the next Facebook.
Right.
You've got to build something with a sustainable plan to build revenue, grow membership, grow sales. Almost like people used to do before the internet.
True that. Well, thank you so much, Mark, for talking to Linus today.
Pleasure.
And good luck at your talk this afternoon.
Thank you.